Okay, so we're going to be talking about a lot of negative, terrible things to start with, okay? But I'm hoping that we can get together and, as Sitting Bull said, think together of what we can do to make the world a better place for our children. Because we've done plenty of things to not make it awesome, right? Now, I like to think of this time as kind of how Charles Dickens described the best of times and the worst of times. Out of all the terrible things happening on the earth, there is still no other time I would rather live in than right now. Would any of you seriously want to go back 100 or 1,000 years? Never, right? We have a better understanding of the human body. We have all this amazing technology to do great things. We have these opportunities to meet people across the world who have the same interests, the same concerns, the same caring, and you find out often that they're just like you and me, right? They care about their families, they care about their kids, they care about their communities. But we also are living in some of the worst of times, right? A culture, we're gorging ourselves on social media, porn, and gaming. And it's not just kids, right? It's us as adults. And we're behaving badly on screens, we're being unkind, we haven't learned how to be adult and proper and kind and thoughtful and respectful. And I'm sure COVID, the pandemic, proved that to all of us as to how cuckoo bonkers many of us are, right? We also are realizing that we're giving kids these very adult tools without thought and concern for the future. We're thinking about just this week, next month. We're not thinking about 5 years, 10 years down the road, and what these powerful tools. I'm going to keep going like this, and when I do this, that means my phone. I'm talking to my phone right there, right? And of course, as we again learned through the pandemic and through the last election and so many other experiences in the last few years, that we don't know where to find truth online. But yet we're expecting kids to know where to find truth and how to understand the content that is really out there. Hilarious. Aren't we adorable for thinking that? We're just adorable. But again, it's an age of wisdom, right? We have access to all these different histories, worldviews, new technologies. We're addressing racism in a way I never imagined. I have been thinking new thoughts in the last few years that I never thought I would think. Things that have opened my mind to new ideas, new understandings, right? We're learning to empathize, as long as you agree with me, right? Unfortunately. And we are living in an age highly, highly shaped by pornography in a way that I didn't realize until I got involved in this about 8 years ago. I got involved in this by reading a simple Facebook article about teen porn consumption. And it was so shocking what I read. I'm a stay-home mom. I have 3 kids. At the time, my oldest was in the 8th grade. She's now 21, almost 22. And I just couldn't believe it. They quoted a woman in there named Gail Dines, who basically is one of the foremost authorities on pornography. I went to her website, I started researching, reading, and I realized everything that was in this article had been true. That what the kids were reading and looking at was far more than just a little kinky sex. My husband had been a bishop in the LDS church, and when he would address it, I would sit there, roll my eyes, and be like, what's the big deal? Even my husband, the bishop, right? But I would be like, I don't see what the big deal is, but I also had never seen pornography, right? So I didn't understand the problem and what was really going on out there. And what is going on is this constant bombardment of hypersexualized imagery. Before our children can even speak, they are having women offered up to them in every sexy way possible. So what is that teaching our little boys and little girls? What are they being socialized into? I don't need to show you the pictures. You already have them in your mind of what you have seen in movies, in advertisements, right along the corridor. I want you to know, here in Utah, if you need lasers, they've got you covered, okay? I've never seen so many advertisements for physical improvement, and I travel a lot all over the country. But I want you to know, here in Utah, you're covered, all right? You need something lasered off? They got you, okay? A lot of focus, even in the LDS community, right? Which we're taught to do better, but sometimes we don't, right? But we, again, very caught up in our media, in ourselves, in how we look, how we behave. And so what are the options left to our kids? If they can't be sexy, what's left to them? If we have put as a culture everything their importance on being sexy and beautiful, what's left? What other choice do they have? If the most important thing is to be sexy and beautiful, the other option is to be invisible for a teenage girl. How fair is that? How correct is that? How right is that? But again, that is where we're living. That's what we're doing. When we give kids phones without restraints, without filters, without talks, without thinking about it, these are the effects. The research is literally pouring in. We cannot keep up with what we are hearing, particularly during COVID, okay? People are at home, they're stuck at home, nothing to do. My kids' school was done by noon, okay? 2 high schoolers. What did they have time to do? We're asking them to do homework on the same thing that they are on YouTube or playing video games on. And we're like, yeah, do some homework now on your toy. We're kind of crazy that way. So what are we seeing? Increased anxiety and depression? Off the charts. Off the charts. Social media is a big culprit of that. I'm sure you know that. Increased peer-on-peer sexual abuse. Just this week, a friend of mine who's a school counselor for a school, kindergarten to 8th grade, was telling me some of the terrible things going on at her elementary middle school. The kids are having a trouble relating. They know exactly who the kids are who have been watching porn. Because as she put it, they're creepy. They're touching kids inappropriately. These are 9, 10-year-olds, right? They're touching kids inappropriately. They're relating, they're joking, they're saying things that 14 and 15-year-olds maybe shouldn't be saying, even in a locker room. And it's becoming a very difficult situation. They were looking, they didn't know where to go, they didn't know what kind of resources. I showed her some of our stuff, let her know, again, we are in New Mexico, a lot of Latin culture. So then we're dealing with another layer of a culture, my own culture, that doesn't talk about this, okay? A lot of factors, a lot of threads coming together to produce these results. Not dating as much, not as much closeness. I remember when my daughter was in high school, not understanding some of her problems because she did not have people that had her back. I had people that had my back, that would defend me and stand up for me. The closeness that I had in my friendships was not there. Meanness, this bullying, this just apathy that was so common was making its way in not every schoolroom, not just every schoolroom, but every congregation as well, okay? The sharing of nudes, this self-commodification, because like I said, we've now given our daughters and our sons sometimes very few options. Be sexy or be invisible, okay? A lot of them are having trouble. You can't find a lot of meaning on social media being smart and kind and thoughtful because it's image-based, right? Very few, they're not writing meaningful posts about the kind thing they learned or the kind thing they did. So everything is on our image, okay? So in this discouraging climate, what are we to do? It sounds hopeless, it sounds sad, it sounds difficult. Can we do it? Of course we can. That is something that I have learned in the last 8 years of doing this. My youngest now is 16 years old, and I know that there are many things we can do, many things we can talk about, and that we're not alone in doing this. Because I am trying to build strong children, turning them into strong adults, okay? Now, what does that look like? This is gonna be different for each person in here. What does that look like? A strong adult. Sometimes my husband and I joke, the strong adult is the one that doesn't come back to live with us, okay? That's one type of person. Don't worry, we've already told our kids they're not coming home. I hope you tell your kids the same. Because I'm also telling my kids, you don't need me as an adult. You can handle this on your own. You're strong, you're smart, you are capable, okay? That's what I want. Now these are not, anything that's on this list it's not clinically driven. These are just some of the things that I thought off the top of my head, what does the strong adult look like? What do I want? Because when we're having these talks, these conversations, when we're planning our little discussions, when we're making progress, and when we want to check our progress, we need a goal in mind. So that's something for you and your partner to think about, talk about. What do I want that child to look like? Right? Not physically, inside. Do I want them to be able to hold a job? I know I want my kids to be able to have a lasting relationship. That is one of the big reasons I want to keep them from porn as much as possible. I need them to relate, love, listen, right? I want somebody who can reject misogyny and racism, two major celebrated themes in pornography, okay? I want them to be able to be brave and speak up. One of the biggest obstacles we have right now in this movement, when I first started, those first couple years, the enemy was the porn industry. I was so angry when I would read or know something that the industry was doing, how they were targeting our kids. I would see the articles on their websites, their marketing websites, go to Snapchat, go to Instagram. They were telling their pornographers and their porn actresses, go there. But don't go to Pinterest, because that's where mommies were, right? Collecting recipes and party ideas. They know exactly who they're after. That was my enemy. Now as I've gotten older, what I'm realizing is I need parents to do a lot more. We can't just protect our own children. We need to be brave, speak up, particularly you men. I'm looking at all of you, okay? Love you fellas. But the porn industry thinks they're doing you a service. We're just helping the men of America out, giving them what they want. They need to know you don't want this, that you don't buy into this, that you don't love this, that you don't like this, that you're not getting off on it. And the ladies too, because now we know that industry is targeting us as well. All right, what does it look like? What are we gonna do? We know, we have an idea in our head what that strong child looks like, so what are we gonna do to get there? We have to be very proactive, very intentional. The time is past for us to allow the school system to educate our children, to expect them to teach character and kindness, to even teach any kind of life skills. Those days are gone. I never thought I would ever be a proponent of homeschool. My children are in public school, but if they were young, they would be homeschooled. I never thought I would ever say that, but it's come to that point, okay? So much has been lost. Too many kids, not enough money, whatever you want to call it. Overworked teachers, underpaid. Things are different. So what do we do? When they're little, we're going to cocoon them. That means we are going to do everything we can to keep them away from terrible information, including screens, as little as possible, okay? A lot of what I'm going to talk about here in the next few minutes is to go against normative parenting, to go against what you see your neighbors are doing, to go against what you see your friends in church doing. Oh, their child is crying or upset and they hand them a phone. They're in the grocery store and they have a 6-month-old baby looking at a phone. Okay, please don't do that ever. That is what we need to go against because these things we're watching. COVID, again, highlighted so many of these things that are not working. Now again, so now school age, they're old enough to understand it's time to prepare and protect them. With conversations, we're gonna arm them with skills. We wanna be the source, meaning we're not gonna wait till our child is exposed to something and brings it up to us. We are gonna bring the conversation up first. We'll talk more about that later. Getting them ready to launch as teenagers. Now a big debate still within parenting communities with teenagers. Am I allowed to monitor and filter? Am I allowed to read texts? Let's see a show of hands. How many of you think it's okay to read your kids' texts? It is. Thank you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Our children do not have a presumption of privacy, okay? Why is that? Because 14-year-olds make 14-year-old decisions. Do you remember the things you did as a 14-year-old? I was pretty stupid. I have a friend here to prove it, okay? Don't ask her though, okay? This is my friend who, we were born in the same hospital, a few hours apart. Known her since birth, literally. She could tell you stories. But anywho, we can't presume that our kids are gonna do everything right. I have those straight A students. I have good kids. They're all good kids, but they are making 13, 14, 15-year-old decisions, just like you did. Do you ever stop and think about what you would have done with a smartphone at their age? I definitely would have looked at porn. I was extremely curious. I loved talking about sex even back then, okay? I still do. Okay, think of what you would have done with that phone. I know for me, would not have been healthy. Somebody said something mean to me online, oh, forget it. Their life would have been over socially, because I was also that kid, okay? because she's scary. I was. Okay, but now I'm a mommy, so I'm so sweet. Okay, this is an overview of basically the next few minutes. So what are we going to do? What are the skills that we need to teach? Positive coping skills. Okay, we're going to take that phone away or not let them have a phone when everyone else is. Well, what are they going to do to cope? It was our pacifier during COVID, right? It was like a little pacifier, like, I need my phone. What are they going to do instead? What are these other skills? Are we going to teach them the value of exercise, of reading, being with friends, face-to-face relationships, watching healthy media, enjoying each other's company, exploring the neighborhood, going on hikes, whatever? We need to be teaching positive coping mechanisms and teaching kids to fill their accounts. What am I talking about, their accounts? All of us have social, emotional, physical, intellectual accounts, okay? We need to keep these accounts full. We need to stimulate our brains intellectually. We need to be able to emotionally cope. We need to get physical exercise. All of these things keep our accounts full so that we can avoid addictive behaviors, okay? One of the most important things I like to focus my time is having tough, honest conversations, okay? Healthy sexuality, the dangers of porn, social media, etc. That what do your kids learn when you start that conversation? Right? Like from the previous speaker, his mom told him straight up, I'm gonna fight for you, but you need to fight for yourself. Imagine when you know your parent is on your side and willing to fight for you, willing to talk to you about tough conversations, that she or he brings up pornography first and doesn't wait for you as a teenager who probably doesn't even have the words yet. The 9 and 10-year-olds certainly don't have the words. Oh, I saw this such and such on television. I saw this. We need to start first to help them have the words for when they do see things, when things do traumatize or upset them. And heaven forbid if you do give your kids that phone, you got to teach them how to use it properly. Teaching them how to use technology for good, that it's not just for entertainment and scrolling, but that it is a tool, right? And importantly, how to find truth. Do you know how to find truth on the internet? There's not many sources, but if you don't know, your kids certainly don't know. One of the first things I like to think about and do, taking inventory. A lot of these questions, as we build that strong child, some of them are not to do with technology. Some of them are about our prioritizing our obligations, what we're doing with our lives. Is your whole focus on taking your kids to soccer and dance practice, making sure they have every activity in the world and they're keeping up with their friends who every single night of the week have football or baseball? Or are you having time together? Are you taking time to learn and spend time and enjoying the child that your child is? Are you raising your kids or just housing them? What do I mean by that? I mean, are you working so much that you only see your child an hour a day? Now, there are a few people that, yes, they are working that hard. They're a single parent and they're working their guts out. God bless you, do the best you can. But if you have more time, please make sure you're spending it with your child and not on your screen or watching television, because the time is past. I don't know if you realize that. The time is past for us to waste any time doing activities that do not strengthen ourselves or our children. Every minute now seems to count. Do you think about that? How much is that 30 minutes? How much reading am I doing? How much reading are my children doing? We don't have that luxury anymore, okay? There's too much going on. There's too many influences, too much bombardment. That time with our kids is precious, okay? Now, do our activities, our time together, do they create conversation? That's an important one, okay? Like I said, I'm a big fan of conversation. You can't shut me up, okay? But we need to have those opportunities to sit down every night at dinner. You'll notice with your kids, there's always a time. When my kids were little, it was bedtime. If I laid down next to them, read them a story, everything, they just would tell you everything from the day. This happened that time. It was the best time for me to listen. As my kids got older, it became dinner. We had some of the best conversations, usually starting with a simple question of, tell me the best and worst thing that happened today at school. It was that simple, but that became our ritual for great conversation, okay? Finally, do we fully realize how dangerous smartphones are to our kids? I don't think we do. I don't think most people do. All right, we're going to take a minute here to talk about pornography. So what do we need to know about pornography? What do we really need to know? Do I need to go out and watch it to know how bad it is? No, you don't. I'll tell you. I've seen it. I'll tell you how bad it is. All right. This is what my concern is. As we watch this generation of kids growing up, every future lawyer, doctor, policeman being raised on a diet of pornography, okay? A place that celebrates misogyny, hatefulness towards women, where their sexual experience is based on watching a woman who is either on her knees or in some other position of powerlessness. That should terrify us, that this is everybody growing up that is now going to be in a position of authority someday. Every mayor, every city council man or woman, thinking, having grown up with these experiences taking place while their sexual templates are being formed in that 8 to 12 range. That 8 to 12 range is often when most kids are exposed these days, smartphone or no. And as they're being exposed, they are realizing, that sexual template, when that's being formed, that's when we realize if we're gay or straight. That's even when pedophiles start figuring out their sexual identity, 8 to 12. And so if you're watching 1 hour, 2 hours, 20 hours of pornography, what are you learning? What is coming around? What is getting ground in to the veins of your brain, okay? People don't realize often, they think it's just like I did years ago. It's a little kinky sex, what's the big deal? Not realizing that it is utterly racist. Every negative stereotype that you can have about Latinas, Asians, black people, white people, whatever, celebrated in pornography in a place that nowhere else. It's one of those things where I did not understand in Black Lives Matters, why did they not come down on pornography? This is one of those swinging at the roots. Yeah, we can swing at branches and change little policies here and there, but where are we learning these terrible ideas about women and minorities? This is one of those places, okay? We also need to realize that this industry is brilliant, okay? They are not stupid. This is not some little tiny industry, and they are targeting women and girls, okay? They come out with porn for women, lesbian porn, feminist porn. These are categories that have increased in popularity in the last few years. When I was at the National Sex Ed Conference a couple years ago, talking about, selling my books, this and that, and a couple of the educators, oh, you just need to watch feminist porn. It's fine. It's fine. So I went ahead and I checked out the feminist porn. No, it still ends in body punishing sex for women, still ends with a woman in a position of powerlessness, but they have geniusly now added 2 minutes of a romance story on it. Or instead, the woman is a lawyer instead of the housekeeper. So just, wow, totally feminist, right? And so we need to realize, again, even in this day of inclusivity, they take pride in now, but we have fat people in now, and we have people of different sexualities. It's like, no, they're not really helping all of our body image or helping us to be better. They're just an equal opportunity exploiter. Okay? No one will be left out of their exploitation. That's really what is going on. Another important thing for us to know as parents is where are your kids going to access it? My children have been exposed on the playground at school from other kids. My kids have been exposed at grandparents' houses with their cash. People in places that you think it's not going to happen, but it's typically on smartphones, okay? And very, 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 very often on social media, okay? We also need to know what porn will do to a brain, okay? Do your own research on that, because it is very fascinating and it's terrifying of what, just like alcohol. Remember what we all learned about what alcohol will do to the teenage brain? Remember our little scared straight videos as teenagers? Like, you don't want that, right? It affects a child's brain way more. When are our brains done developing? Not till 22, 23. I had always thought it was 18 until I started researching and understanding how easy it was for things to imprint and stay, how powerful early childhood and mid-childhood experiences are. They stay with us. It's the same reason why you and I can remember who our second grade teacher is, but we can't remember what we ate for dinner 2 days ago. Okay, powerful. And of course, I think you guys already read this slide, but this to me is a great example of exactly what's going on. We know porn is out there, and we think maybe our kids have seen it once or twice or seen a picture, but not understanding nearly the level of violence and deviancy. And when I talk about deviancy, something important for us to realize is they are normalizing so many deviant behaviors. And before, again, when I first thought of that, I thought, oh, people are probably saying that because maybe it has something gay in it and people are anti-gay. And that's just rude. No. The deviancy that they normalize is incest, is bestiality. These are the terrible things. We should not have to tell our children that they should not find their stepmom hot. But yes, we do need to say those things, okay? Because that is the culture that we're living in. Strong children, how are we going to get there? It's in our daily routine. It's simpler than we think. It is not by grand gestures and one big talk. It is in small, simple conversations, small, simple means. I'm not telling you that you need to tell your kids everything terrible I have just told you about pornography. I need you to know how terrible it is so that you can warn your children. You don't need to tell them, oh, incest. You don't have to explain those kinds of things. First, though, we need to start listening. Again, do our routines and our activities lend themselves to listening, okay? A lot of times people will ask us for specific dialogues in how to bring up these conversations. And I tell them, it's a different conversation for every child. I have 3 different children, it was 3 different conversations, with each one on different topics. You know your child better than anyone. You love your child more than anyone. You know how to talk to your child way better than you think you do, okay? Get comfortable. What am I talking about? You need to get comfortable using these words. You need to get used to talking about and get comfortable saying the word anal sex, oral sex, vaginal sex, orgasm. Some of these are great words. I love that word, orgasm. But we need to talk about the ugly parts too, right? Our kids need to understand rape, predators, but they also need to understand intimacy and love and healthy relationships, right? We need to get comfortable with these topics. All right, we start talking. Keeping it simple. People have often asked us, why did you write 30 days of sex talk? I'm not gonna talk to my kid about sex for 30 days. Like, oh yes, you are. But it's for 5 minutes. Break these topics into simple, tiny, little ingestible pieces, okay? You're not gonna lay this all on them in one session. It needs to be something that you plan, but is not an event, right? You think about it for a few minutes, you talk about it with your partner, but these are 5-10-minute conversations that end up leading to other great discussions where your kids know that they can come and talk to you about some of these topics that you might think before have been off limits, have been difficult, have been scary. You are showing them by starting first that you are a source, that you're okay talking about these topics, that you're comfortable, that you love and care about them enough to warn and prepare and protect them, okay? It's very important. We have got to acknowledge that curiosity is normal. Let them know that. It is normal, it's natural. Everybody wants to look at naked people. That's normal. It's okay to want to see that. You're not a bad person. They have got to understand the difference between guilt and shame, right? How many of us didn't know that growing up? We just felt terrible when we did something wrong. Our kids need to know it's normal to be curious and to see those things. What does it mean, the difference between guilt and shame? Guilt means I did something wrong. Shame is I'm a terrible person. I'm irredeemable. They need to know the difference, that when I see something and do something wrong, there's always a way back. There's always a way to change habits, to change what we're doing. All right, what do we need to do to start? We need to define pornography, okay? We need to create a plan. Our kids, make it simple, okay? Pictures or videos with naked people or people with very little clothing. That's the simple one. As they get older, I like to add the addition of, it is made to make money. There is nothing educational or helpful or kind or loving or intimate in pornography. It's not made for your benefit. It's made to make money off of you, okay? Any child over 8 should understand that. That's not for them, okay? They need a plan, okay? We have more on this information out there. On our website, we have a free family night lesson. It's called the Run Plan for kids. Recognize what you've seen. Talk to us about it. Understand what you've seen. Why do they need this plan? Why do they need this plan? Because when a child is exposed to pornography, several things happen, right? They're aroused. They might feel immense shame for what they've seen. They might feel sad. They might feel angry. There are so many emotions. It's like a cesspool inside a child. What are they supposed to do with all of these feelings? They need someone to talk to, and hopefully that person is you. Hopefully you have had that discussion, that you've let them know they're gonna see it, and when they do, to please talk to you about it. That you're not gonna be angry, you're not gonna be mad, but that you need to know. Help them understand what they've seen so that they can take the shame and the fear out of it and know that's fake, that's wrong, that is not what real sex looks like. No, women don't want their hair pulled. No, women don't want to be called names. It's not sexy, not special, okay? And also in these discussions, they need to understand, I almost slipped ahead. This is the plan for you, parents. This might be one for you to take a picture of, because you need a plan. We have your kids' plan, but now you need to know what to do. You need to know that you need to stay calm, that you need to be calm and kind and compassionate, even if your child supposedly went and looked for it on purpose. Even if they went 10 times, 100 times, your response needs to be love and compassion. They need to know that you are on their side, that you understand that an industry is hunting them when they're on social media, gaming sites, wherever, to shovel their garbage at them, okay? Help your kids know you're on their side and help them formulate that plan to avoid exposure the next time. All right, what are we gonna talk to younger kids about? Quickly, because I've already using up my time. Feel free to take a picture of this. Right in this slide are 11 conversations. This is not one conversation. This is 11 different conversations. Helping our kids understand that pornography is the opposite of healthy sexuality. That sex is amazing, wonderful, beautiful. That we're supposed to have sex. We're supposed to want to have sex. It's a great thing. But that what porn portrays is not what real healthy sexuality occurs. Whether that's with two people who respect and love each other, have fun with each other, where one is not dominating another one. Help your kids understand protective information. We all know that predators use pornography as a means of grooming, okay? Although you will find that we are now living in a culture that is grooming our kids themselves. The culture is grooming us, okay? More than one pedophile has talked about how the culture itself is grooming our kids to want to be sexy, to want to connect in a sexual way long before they're ready. Body basics, understanding their anatomy, understanding the functions of anatomy, where babies come from. They need to understand the light so they can understand the darkness, okay? We can't just have a porn talk and be done. They have to understand both. The difference between younger and older kids, we're gonna layer more information on, being very positive. I always love to share how my mom, I don't remember a word my mom said about sex, but I remember she talked about it like this, right? So positive, right? I didn't have anything to fear. There was no shame in it. I had no shame. Nothing, but there was nothing there to feel ashamed about. This was all positivity and beautiful, okay? I want your kids to have that. It's gonna be hard to understand that when they've seen the other stuff. That's what you're there for, to help them understand the difference. Relationship counsel. This is part of the sex talk. Understanding healthy and unhealthy relationships, understanding abuse, understanding consent, all very important, very helpful topics, okay? Right on that slide, if you took a picture of it, there were 15 discussions right on that one page. All right. Now in old days, I focused most of my attention on using technology for good when it came to social media. Now, after COVID particularly, I am much more passionate about telling parents to please slow down or to just not get your kid a smartphone, okay? Please learn from my mistake. We gave our oldest a smartphone when she was in the 8th grade. We thought we were being good parents. We thought This is what a good parent did. They need it for school, right? They don't need it for school. Ask your kids' teachers. I've asked over 30 teachers in the last few years, not a single one. Every single one has said your kid does not need a phone in school. If they're going to require something digital, they have to provide it. Welcome to America, right? Give your kid a dumb phone, and if you are going to give them that smartphone, please do not allow them on social media. That is where everything bad is coming from. If you want to teach your kids how to cut themselves, if you want them to learn how to have a really great eating disorder, of course, and be in touch with porn stars, definitely get social media for your kids, okay? That's going to get them right on the right track for that. Please slow down. I have yet to meet the parent who has regretted not giving their kid a smartphone. I have yet to meet the parent to say, I wish I had given my kid a smartphone earlier. Why did we wait till their senior year? You're never going to meet that parent. You're going to meet plenty of parents who are like, ugh, I hate it. When I took my son's smartphone away his junior year, we thought it was going to be anarchy. We were prepared for anarchy. It was not. We gave him a dumb phone called Gab Wireless. I'm not getting paid to say that. Has talk, text, radio, a camera. Cannot receive group text, cannot receive photos, cannot send photos, okay? Again, like I said, I thought it was going to be anarchy. It was totally fine. This is my most argumentative child, too, by the way. And it went beautifully, okay? The time wasted, the amount of YouTube being watched, whatever, etc. It was not worth it. It is not worth it, okay? Something you need to think about. If you're a prayerful person, pray about it, okay? But it is danger. To me, it's like giving your kid a lunchbox with some healthy food in it, and then bags of sugar and cupcakes, and then telling them don't eat any sugar, okay? Sugar is really bad for you, it's poison for your body, but go ahead, here, have that lunchbox. Take that to school with you, bye. You think your kid's not gonna eat the cupcake? Give me a break. All right, I also say if you have to use social media, if your kid, whatever, you somehow think your kid is special and is not gonna have any problems, wait as long as possible till they can use it deliberately. What does that mean? That means they get off of it. They share something and get off. Are you able to do that? I know I'm not, so terrible. I know I'm supposed to stop, but I'm not going to. So I've got 2 more minutes, sorry. So this is from Brooke Romney. If there's one slide you're gonna pay attention to, please let this be it, okay? If you delay smartphone and refuse social media until a time that their brains are more developed, your kids are gonna be left out. They're gonna be left out of TikTok trends, Instagram drama, body image traps, mindless scrolling, porn sites, addictive gaming, burning bridges, inappropriate conversations, bullying, predators, explicit lyrics, losing their inner innocence, endless distractions, okay? Please don't think your kid is above all this. Like I said, I had the straight A students too. 2 Eagle Scouts, Young Women Medallion, right? And my kids, with all the talking, everything I've done, everything I've helped them with, social media was a killer, okay? It is very damaging, it's very dangerous. Just please, think twice, be brave, okay? And I know that's a very unpopular view. I'm getting dirty looks from the young people, and that's okay. But just please, slow down, think about it, okay? Now, establish rules, follow through. Have the conversations before you give the phone if you're going to give the phone. This is a picture, these are 3 free ebooks on our website if you want them, okay? If you just look it up on our website, free ebooks, preparing different aspects of digital media, digital safety, okay? If you're gonna have that phone, you know this, but you have to follow through. You have to continue with those tech-free zones, not at the table. That you're gonna have the sharing, the charging location one place at night, no phones in the rooms, etc. You know these rules. You have to keep up with them though, okay? It's every parent's temptation, oh, they're fine. Oh, they're fine. Oh, I have good kids. I know, they're all good kids with a very adult tool, okay? We've got to do better. Like I said, you gotta go against what everybody else is doing. Use your mistakes and move forward. I made a mistake giving my oldest a phone. It was very big debate. Were we going to take that phone away from the junior in high school? Yes, we did. My youngest knows he will never have a smartphone in our home. I've heard too many horror stories, particularly after COVID. Okay, my counselor friend. Student came in yesterday. He's missed 75 days of school. She said, what have you been doing? These different days, watching porn, right? It's a very adult tool in a child's hand, right? This is where it's not working. I was hopeful for many years. It's just not working, okay? Be your child's parent, not their friend. They have enough friends, okay? They need you to be the parent. Last slide, spend time together. That is going to be one of the best positive coping mechanisms that you can teach your kids, how to spend time with other humans, to be loved, to share love. Your time is what your kids need the most. Create that home where your kids can ask you anything. That was always my goal from the beginning. I wanted my kids to be able to talk to me about anything. Okay? Can you imagine that home for you and your kids? It's a great feeling. I wish I could tell you some of the stories my kids have asked about, but we're in mixed company, so I won't. All right. I'm going to take the mic off because I was supposed to be done 5 minutes ago. But I'm going to come over here, and if you have questions, you can ask me questions, or I will be out at the booth. You can ask questions. These are some of our books. Lots of different books, lots of different resources for parents and for kids. The children's book, we have one about using technology for good. It's a boy who gets his smartphone too young. Petra and her father, who are going through the community looking at different media, including social media. The ones at the bottom, this is what I did during COVID. This was my COVID project. I didn't knit anything or sew anything. I wrote 3 books for LDS families, Understanding Personal Revelation, Asking Gospel Questions, and helping girls and boys understand their priesthood power, okay? Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you out there.